Good morning, it's 7:22 a.m. Oh, where are we? We're on Undercliff Drive, as usual. Well, I say as usual. Sometimes we park here, sometimes we park at Blackgang. What I'm going to do, it's a bit blowy today, so ideal weather to be down here in the Undercliff. So what I'm going to do is walk up out of the Undercliff onto the summit, where it's going to be a lot more windy. I want to see if I can find any any cirl buntings, C-I-R-L, not curl, C-I-R-L, but cirl, C-I-R-L, as if it's S-I-R-L. Cirl bunting, which is a little tiny obscure bird that used to be widespread across southern England, as well, and into, I think there's a little population in North Wales as well, but basically from the Wash down to the Severn, everything south of that line, you used to get lots of cirl buntings, basically a farmland bird. And then there was this massive decline from about the 1950s, 60s onwards, when agrochemicals started to come onto the scene. Massive decline. Nobody quite knew what was going on until the RSPB started some research in I guess the late 80s, 1980s, by which time they were confined to South Devon, to the South Hams of Devon, this species. RSPB did lots of research, and they worked out that the reason for the declines was loss of winter stubbles from arable fields. So the farmers grow spring barley, say, they plough it or they drill it in spring and they harvest it in the autumn, and then over winter the stubble is left, and there's lots of seeds in the stubble. It's like a big bird table, lots of seed, grain from the barley, but also wildflower seed from the annual wildflowers like poppies and cornflowers, that kind of stuff that grows within the crop. Farmers switched to autumn sown cereals, so wheat and some barley, and that meant there were no stubbles left in winter, so the bird table was taken away, and so the cirl buntings were starving over winter. That was one problem, and the second one was fertiliser on grasslands. So if you fertilise what were flower-rich hay meadows and flower-rich pasture with cattle grazing on them, if you stick loads of fertiliser on that flower-rich grassland, all the flowers disappear, because the fertiliser is designed to favour the grasses and to get rid of the wildflowers, so the wildflowers disappear. Because there's no wildflowers, there are no pollinators, no insects, but more especially fewer grasshoppers. Grasshoppers really like lower intensity flower rich meadows and pasture. It's a bit tussocky, a bit rough, and it turns out that cirl buntings eat grasshoppers. That is the main food item they give to the chicks as they develop in the nest. So grasshoppers especially, and also bush crickets. So all that fertiliser basically got rid of grasshoppers from most of the farmed grassland you see. If you walk across a field of cattle, in summer you're not going to see loads of grasshoppers. If you walk over rough grassland, you'll see lots of grasshoppers, and meadows, hay meadows as well. Rough grassland and hay meadows have basically disappeared to all intents and purposes as far as cirl buntings are concerned, so they don't have enough food to feed their chicks. So it's a double whammy. The chicks are starving in summer and the adults are starving in winter. And that's why the cirl buntings declined. But in the last 2 decades, farmers have done a load of good stuff for farmland birds using taxpayers' money, so what we call agri-environment support. It's £3 billion a year are given to farmers in return for not trashing the countryside too much. £3 billion. There's only a couple of 100,000 farmers, so it's a lot of money. But one of the things they've been doing is making things better for cell buntings by growing a bit more spring barley and creating a bit more grasshopper-rich habitat. So cell buntings have started to increase. So they've increased pretty dramatically in Devon in the South Hams, and they've started to spread out again into East Devon, and in the last 3 or 4 or 5 maybe years, they've turned up again in Dorset. So Portland and Purbeck and along the Fleet, along the coastal strip in Dorset basically. And so any time now, they ought to reappear on the Isle of Wight. And this summer there was one male around Arreton Barnes. I think I can reveal the location now. I found it. I kept it a secret over the summer. And yeah, they're going to potentially start to spread onto the Isle of Wight. So what I'm doing now is going up. So one particular farmer has done lots of work for cell buntings here in anticipation of their return eventually. So I'm going to have a quick look up here, see if I can see any. I doubt there will be any. Like I say, there's one on the island at the moment at Arreton. There might be 1 or 2 more, given there's a few in Purbeck now, which is only over the water to the west of us. That was a long-winded explanation for why I'm doing this little walk this morning. I wonder if the camera's on. Hold on. Yeah, I did remember to turn the camera on. That was good. Right, it's blowy today and it's going to be windy up the top. It's not at all cold though. It's really mild. You go down that way, you can see the railway tunnel entrance. I'm not going to go that way because there are ghosts in there and it's very scary. So I'm going to go up this way. Got some feedback that when I got the camera mounted on my head like this, you can see the bobbing up and down a bit more than when I've got it in my hand, so I'll try not to bob too much. Trouble is when you've got things like this fence line right next to you, it really shows the bobbing motion quite dramatically. So I'll try and look away from the fence. Doesn't work though because I need to look forward. So I apologise for my bobbing. This is very good exercise. I'm really beginning to feel my age these days. This kind of walking uphill is getting more and more tiring. And the way to resolve that is to do it more. Build up the old leg muscles and the stamina rather than avoid it. If you avoid it, it just gets worse. You really won't be able to do it if you avoid it. Phew. So I've not brought the drone with me. I do not have a backpack with a drone because it's too windy. There will be fewer and fewer days when I can put the drone up through the winter. I've become pretty, not addicted to it, but appreciative of the value of the drone. Quite a few bees down here, the old ivy bees I think, sheltering in this little valley as far as they're concerned. That's lovely, isn't it? Maybe we will get some sun. Maybe it'll burn off. Don't think the wind is going to drop off though. Phew. Let me just check the microphone's on. Hold on. Yep. I've got it attached to the hat on my head. It was an experiment to see if it stops it scraping on clothing. Hopefully it's not scraping on my head. You can tell me in the comments section No doubt it's going to get a bit blustery up here, possibly. So you are forewarned that the sound quality might turn a bit rubbish. It's actually not as blustery up here as I thought it might be, but we'll see when we get up to the summit. Oh, this is nice. Nice wildflowers in here. Wild carrot and meadow scabious, field scabious, whatever it's called. This stuff, beautiful, really lovely. Oh, well, there's no dew on the grass, which is nice. I'm not going to get wet feet. Makes a change. Never going to be able to read that. I'll give you the opportunity to pause the camera, assuming the camera's facing it. Don't know when it's on my head. Bit of Vismig. Couple of goldfinches. What's that flying over there? This is one bit of habitat creation the farmer here's done. This is a chalk grassland creation project. He's been doing it for a couple of decades now and it's looking really good. It's full of wildflowers, especially yellow rattle, which is really, really good because that helps keep the grasses down. Remember I said fertiliser is bad for wildflowers because it favours the grasses. Yellow rattle, well, no fertiliser for a start, and then yellow rattle, hay rattle, wildflower, is parasitic on the grasses. It grows into the roots of the grasses and knocks them back a bit, keeps them under control basically from a wildflower point of view. So by having yellow rattle kind of living in the grassy roots, it suppresses the grasses and the wildflowers have more of a chance, because the grasses are basically more aggressive in terms of growing than the wildflowers are on the whole. So the wildflowers have got a better chance if there's no fertiliser and if there's things like yellow rattle parasitising and knocking back the grasses a little bit. They don't kill the grasses because they depend on the grasses. They're a parasite that doesn't want to kill the grass, doesn't want to kill the host. Now, cell buntings, they love hedgerows like this, as do yellowhammers. There's lots of yellowhammers here. Lots and lots and lots of yellowhammers here. If I was a cell bunting, gradually spreading along the south coast, and I'd got as far as Dorset, my next stop would be the coast of the Isle of Wight, which is where we are. So I would have lots of babies in Purbeck, and some of those babies would disperse over the Solent, or the gap between the Needles and Old Harry Rock, I suppose, in Purbeck. And come over here. This is lovely. This is really good. So I think they're feeding on stubble, these sheep. This is great for choughs. Choughs love to feed amongst the sheep on the invertebrates in and dung. There's not going to be many invertebrates in their dung because they're probably laced with chemicals, but in principle choughs will be feeding. If we had choughs on the Isle of Wight, they're extinct as well, but they're going to be reintroduced hopefully. But if there were choughs on the Isle of Wight, they'd be feeding probably in amongst these sheep. So yeah, there are plans to reintroduce choughs, just as there were plans to reintroduce cell bunting. Don't need to reintroduce cell bunting now because like I say, they're spreading naturally. They're almost here, and they probably are here. Well, there's one here, not here, at Arreton. So this is a particularly good farmer. He's doing some really good stuff for cell buntings and choughs and farmland birds generally, which benefits a load of other wildlife as well. There's a kestrel hunting over his stubble. So I assume he's going to move the sheep around his stubble fields. I must email him and say how good things are looking. Right, so I'm looking out for any little yellowish looking bird in the hedge, in the edge of the hedge, or up in these ash trees. It's probably going to be a yellowhammer, but it not equally, there's an outside remote possibility it would be a cell bunting. Back in the day, up until 1993, I think, 1993 was the last cell buntings on the Isle of Wight, the last record of them. And they were extinct after that on the island. That's a long time ago, 30 odd years of absence, and they were back again this year. One individual back again this year. Hopefully that is the start of their natural recolonisation. Right, it's getting a bit windy up here, so I'm not going to go any further. If I was managing this land, I'd be putting some tailings, some harvest waste, basically seed head waste, down along this track, because there'll be lots of weed seeds in it, which the seed eating birds like yellowhammers, corn buntings, cell buntings will be eating over winter. Reed buntings, linnets, those kinds of things. They'll come down and feed chaffinches, bramblings. Probably not linnets, to be honest. They won't come down to seed on a track like this. They'll be out on the wider open stubble fields. Goldfinches will come down, probably, maybe not actually, not goldfinches. They'll be on the seed heads of thistles and teasels and that. Obviously as the winter goes on, those sorts of things are depleted and they'll be going to garden feeders and weedy patches looking for other sorts of seed, grass seeds and that kind of thing. So I think what I really need to do is to come up here on a still day when it's a bit sunny, less blustery, get permission from the farmer to walk across his stubble field, see what I can find. That's the best way to find little groups of yellowhammers. Kestrel parked up on the little ash tree over there, being buffeted a bit by the wind. Yeah, this is a superb cell bunting field. There's little, I don't know, they're pigeons. So if I can get permission, I will walk over this. See if I can flush anything. He's trimmed his hedge back. It's a shame, really. I shall have to send him an email, see if I can come and have a visit, walk over his farm. What's the time? 7:42. Just wanted to check out the this water supply that appears to have been put in. So it's a brand new water supply, so I assume he's going to have some animals grazing on here. going forward. This is brand new. Oh, it is on. Didn't think it was switched on for a minute. So he's got a tap on there rather than an actual water butt. So maybe he just fills up a water butt here, kind of a mobile one, when he's got, not a water butt, a trough, drinking trough for the sheep probably. So he'll bring the sheep in here and have a water supply there. So he's rotating his sheep around. It'll be great for this to be grazed over the winter by sheep, because that's not what he's been doing in well, I think since he created this area of chalk grass, and he's just been cutting it. It's much better to graze it. Sheep are okay as long as you don't have them on there in summer. Cattle are much better. Sheep do the job, kind of. Bit of drizzle. So I'm not going to go very far up there as it's drizzly. What is that calling? Oh, there's a kestrel there. I'm right next to the kestrel, I didn't see him. Don't want to flush him as a chaffinch, that's what's calling. So I'm going to go back this way, drop back down into the undercliff and out of the wind. But I don't think the sun is about to break through. If anything, it might rain. A little bit of drizzle in the air, but it's gone off now. Another really good thing the farmer got done here with taxpayers' money from Natural England was cut away some of the holm oaks that are invading the grassland at the cliff top, the SSSI chalk grassland at the cliff top. It's done that for choughs, and opened up the view. There's Ed Blake's boat out to sea. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's his grey boat. Bit choppy. So he cut out the scrub a bit, and hopefully the sheep will be allowed to go over onto this cliff top a bit. It's quite difficult to orientate the electric fencing in a way that will work. You have dogs going up and down here, not many, but enough to cause a problem if they cause a problem. Is that a human up there? No, not a human. But anyway, by clearing away the scrub, well, especially the holm oaks along this bit of the cliff face, he's opened up the cliff face, opened up the chalk grassland that was being destroyed, and made it better for the future population of choughs. Drop down back into the relative shelter of the undercliff. The big problem we have here is a lack of rabbits. They've basically gone from here. The rabbits would have kept this grassy summit nicely, tightly grazed, but they've all gone. And so it's gone very rank and rubbishy. It's good if you're a cell bunting though, so not so good for the chalk grass and wildflowers that are along here, and the Glanville fritillary butterflies that are along here, but it's good for cell buntings, which like the grasshoppers, which like this tussocky grass. What I'm going to do is turn you off until I get down the bottom, conserve a bit of a camera battery. Well, I'll put you back on again because I've got it plugged into a power source, so it's charging the battery up. I'm now holding the camera again in my hand. Make sure I'm looking where I'm going. Yeah, it's definitely better having the camera mounted on my head. Right, let us go up to the car and head back to Ventnor, or head to Ventnor. Nice Lotus EV he's driving. I assume it's fully electric. Had a green thingy on the number plate, which I think means fully electric, but it may not. Might mean a hybrid. Not seen a Lotus car in a long while. Looks like today is set to be drizzly, then sun, then drizzle, then sun. Which means my favourite cafe, or tea hut, Blake's Tea Hut, on the beach will not be open. It's been closed for the week because they've been on a holiday, but I don't think it's due to open until tomorrow anyway, at the earliest, if it reopens for the season. We're kind of end of season now. It's only open for Halloween, I think. Whew. Here comes the van, which would very much make a good house. This little grey one, or big grey one, a Mercedes Sprinter. That's a short wheelbase rather than, I think, a medium wheelbase. It would be perfect. So I'm looking for a short wheelbase, kind of semi-high top, if that is a thing. So one that's not too high, but it's still high enough for me to stand up in. And is short wheelbase. I don't want lots of floor space in it. I want to be able to stand up, which is number one priority. And a bit of floor space. But I just want to be able to fit a bed in there, in the back, and a seating area, and a shower. A collapsible shower. That's all I need. I don't have the possessions anymore. As it's getting a bit drizzly now, I may switch you off and see you in Ventnor or at the next video. We'll see. So I hope you're enjoying this video about Ventnor and the Undercliff. If so, then don't forget there are 2 books that I've written. One, Birdwatching Around Ventnor, creatively named, and the second one is Wildlife Watching Around Ventnor. Just short books about the local area that are the subject of this video. Available on Amazon. I'll put a link below this video, and you can also order it from the library, and it's available in all major bookshops, both of these little booklets.